Last month, the sad news of Guy Tudor's passing made headlines. I'm not sure there are many bird illustrators that would get New York Times obituaries, which I don't mean as a slight to other artists, rather to highlight how important Tudor's work is. I wanted to make this quick video to highlight some of Tudor's artwork and contributions. I love reviewing field guides, and many of those owe some credit to Guy Tudor. Since a handful of books with Tudor's name sit on the bookshelf right behind me, I thought we'd take a minute to give credit where due. Let's start by looking at some of his earliest work, A Guide to the Birds of Venezuela, published in 1978. He wrote that all the portraits and identification notes were prepared from study specimens in the American Museum of Natural History, but Tudor did spend a significant amount of time studying these birds in the field himself. You can really tell by reading the identification notes on the facing page plate legends that he had a superior understanding of these birds and how to identify them in the field. Now, I'll admit, I've only seen a small percentage of these species, but you can certainly appreciate the subtle differences between the species that Tudor captured in these otherwise very similar birds. Especially looking at the detail in the parrots, the perhaps overwhelming diversity in his hummingbirds, which again, I don't mean any disrespect, but they stand a bit more lifelike than those from other illustrators. But the Furnarids are really incredible for getting this much detail and uniqueness conveyed across such similar species. I'm sure I would have quit trying to illustrate all the flycatchers, but before moving on, we should take a second to absorb the Cotingas plate, literally the thing dreams are made of. Next came A Guide to the Birds of Colombia, which used many of the same plates as Birds of Venezuela, but the new plates are spectacular with more hummingbirds, and Tudor adding his own puffbirds and jacamars. Same with a few new or replaced conebills, and I really like his versions of the brush finches, but the winning plate here, for me, is the glowing mountain tanagers. If you've already covered Colombia and Venezuela, why not do all the birds of South America? Teaming up with the conservation legend Robert Ridgely, they produced 2 volumes covering the Aucine and Sub-Aucine passerines of the birds of South America. Tudor gave us all new plates here, and you can really see his skills improving across species like these jays. These being done a decade after A Guide to the Birds of Venezuela was published. We also get more tanagers from Tudor, which I don't think I've seen any artist since really capture as lifelike as he did. And speaking of lifelike art, the Sub-Aucines are even more stunning. I know I'm a sucker for Cotingas, but the amount of detail he shows in an all-white bird, or the personalities across these otherwise expressionless birds, really makes you want to quit your job and move to the Amazon. These volumes honestly deserve their own videos, but perhaps I'll save that for the future. It is worth noting that Volume 2 was the end of the series, which they even seem to acknowledge in the preface. I'll paraphrase, but they call the project their bête noire, or a quote, albatross around their neck. Yet, abetted by the encouragement of friends and associates, they pushed on against the tide. They directly say unforeseeable circumstances could conceivably put a halt to the completion of their multi-volume project, which seems foreseen, but it is still absolutely incredible that they were able to complete 2 volumes covering over 2,000 species, which in their words, they say, that's something, after all. They even address how they started the project phenologically backwards, but we can all agree they chose correctly because who doesn't love a passerine? This brings to mind Ralph Palmer's attempt at a Handbook of the Birds of North America, which ended after its 5th volume at the raptors. He never even made it to the passerines. Tudor has illustrated and co-authored a number of other books, embarrassingly, some of which I don't have, but the last one I want to mention, mostly to give him credit as an equally amazing lepidopterist, is Butterflies of the East Coast, an observer's guide co-authored with Rich Check. This book was given to me by my mentor, Paul Miliotis. It is a little bigger than you might want to bring in the field, but I find its coverage of natural history information, detailed description of identification, plus inclusion of host plan and ecological notes really unrivaled by any other books on butterflies, at least in the eastern United States. July was a tough month for the bird world, with the passing of Guy Tudor, Guy McCaskey, and Bill Oddie. Despite their departure from the physical world, their works live on, and I'll encourage you to dust off one of these volumes, or go purchase a used copy and flip through the pages. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Thanks for watching.